sea. From which shallow conflict does this catastrophic discomfort, this stupid ache arise? The will of the actual seeming less pressing than the fact of the will that, always losing, keeps the defeat. Hind and foresight, phantom points, to leap to over time and from afar. Like wussy dust devils or figure-8 escape plans marched hesitantly, even in retreat. Who is it that can't buck up? God damn it. What to do with the pressure of being a point at which totality converges? See. (2708). A cliff wearing a chainmail vest to prevent the falling of stones on innocent passers-by. With age a pelvis lost to a pair, jet marble fact. When what's believed becomes less significant than what's discovered, as walking on water is not nearly as interesting as we are walking water, mostly from matter to idea to matter. There must be a million false continents on the water now. Lake of emerging tree stumps, lake bulls buzzing, wake up, you begin a leap happening slowly until later, then not slowly at all, you are a great distance. The room tunneled to candlelight, stuttering on the cusp of a second, gravel tumbling, pushed through the best, oh mad gathering of edits in this, minute convulsion of sips, grazed over by a longer hand, form, time on top of time, self, shelf. Some of these poems that have titles with dates are just materials that I've collected over a period of time and then dated on the day that I collected all this material into a single composition. 10/19/08. In the overheard voices quiver, a dozen arrows, the point, are you a transistor? I am elements of that. Bewildered rectifier, I, infinite ellipsis, care to, the shareholder, the river, tide wonky. It was a large, beautiful room, rich and picturesque. The wind asks, and from the trees, a slow yellow downpour of leaves. Vanish and am the sudden receiver of incandescent estuaries. Water splits water, tortillas heavenly scent. When the rain stops, I see the small stream quietly weaving light toward the sewer, and in the quick varieties of that gleam undulate gracefully my pupils. And some of the poems that I've been writing lately have been putting sort of arbitrary constraints on them, like following two poems, which the only constraint that I set for myself was to limit myself to 10 lines and then try to think about what a line is and how to arrange that in a way that seems interesting. And the first poem is made of 3 10-line poems. Poem in 3 parts. 1. On the Brooklyn Bridge, I think of walking the high cables like vertebrae of lying dino, pumps the swelling breath of traffic for the view, to lift myself from double vision and obtain legendary status in the heads of a few who'd get it and love me regardless. How amazing to have heroes as friends, who sweat to witness, report truly the churning vast and stride tightrope the interface, a pace wobbly of toe and heel, but going. 2. It was a wet sky by 7 split, half ink, half oranges, bled centerward by bats and blowing leaves. Don't you know the weather prophet? A wind composed of, there's our river. I told you it felt more and more like an appendage. I was learning how to wave. I was wrong. It's more like a wave. A particular sense is sometimes lucky to land on. 3. Like an appendage, I was learning of a few who'd get it and love me regardless, half ink, half orange, a pace wobbly of toe and heel, but going like a wave. A particular sense is vast and stride tightrope, the interface for the view, to lift myself from the high cables like vertebrae of lying dino, who sweat to witness, report truly the churning, led centerward by bats and blowing leaves. this next poem came out of collecting other material from elsewhere and trying to write a poem about the election which was coming up. I opt for the candidate of glee spasms. I opt for the candidate of glee spasms, dig the demolition and pure local spirits shook. There were two podiums caricatured as sparrows having a conversation, stations of common white light, a ringtone called office, the price of a grazing view. Both criticized the stage personally in their anecdotes and their steps in gray strands. My ringtone is called polychromatic jackhammer. I opt for grazing key rings and pulling, to set apart sense smiled and seemingly shared. Can you hear me in the back? It's loud. Can't help that. The sea. Then waves goodbye the constant attempt to pluralize the always lovely, oh yeah. And then, oh yeah, I tumble and ride the genealogy of particular senses remembered, all freshmen in the endless sophomoring of time, quiet, city sprawling its sea fins way out past the fog to swim through and finally break with and fade in the penultimate act of tension. Oh, thusness come tiding, from left to right, back down, and from lowest, most recently beginning again, lines of currently salt-licking things in the sea. This is a poem that comes from another series of poems I'm writing, and all of them are called Scale. And they're kind of, I've been told recently, clinical, which I guess isn't so good, but I know what the person who said that means. And these poems are basically me trying to take two terms and figure a middle ground between them. So this is called Scale, Opacity, Transparency. Repeatable dawn trophy, certain themes phase, strata once, and twin upon me, window, wall, window, where light is fully granted passage and past, darkness swells the fog, in evolving blue volume. Does that sound clinical? That means yeah, what do you say? This is called Note. Then against inevitable winds, porcelain swoon breezy noon degrees versus downtown clank and hammer, car horn, and no grayscale, and cold, and why? Despite the purity of vision, what he had thought to be a farmhand, boldly untwisting, approaching funnel clouds for fear of crop destruction, calling all motives into question, generosity, gravity, or reckless debris, actually a boy magnifying rain stains to dust devils through the windows. A mirage. Thanks for the wake-up. That brilliant disclosure of heat binds the hailstones of shoulders melting into the raw feed of sensation, hummed through the ochre hours, a tuning fork tanked lightly on reverberations.